everyone, my name is Iasmina and welcome back to my channel. Yes, some things are a little different, but let's just move on from that, okay? Today I'm here to do my favorite books of 2018 video. I'm sure you've seen a lot of these popping up on your feed. But anyway, I wanted to do one because I've never had the opportunity to do one. I've done blog posts in the past, I'm pretty sure, with favorite books of 2017. I will link down below if anyone is interested. But this is my first video of this, so I'm very excited. And without further ado, let's get into my favorite books of 2018. I have a couple of piles behind me and I'm just gonna pick some of them up and talk about them in no particular order. And I'm not gonna go too in-depth because most of these I already have more in-depth reviews of on my channel from recent reads, videos and things like that. So let's just get straight to it. One thing I need to add is that these are my favorite books that I've read in 2018, not necessarily that have come out in 2018. Okay, I think actually only maybe one or maximum two of them actually came out in 2018, but nonetheless, these are the favorite books that I've read this past year. First book I have here is The Secret History by Donna Tartt, and this is a book I've talked a lot about already on my channel, but it was definitely one of the best books I've read this year or this past year. And it was also quite a surprise for me because I never really thought I would enjoy it as much as I did. All I knew about it was that it was a literary fiction thriller, and all those things, well, except for fiction, literary and thriller, was some genres that I didn't read that much of until this year. So I was very surprised when I ended up loving it from the very start, from the very first pages. So I'm not going to go too in-depth into this, but in a nutshell, this is about a kind of elite society in college and one guy who really is interested in getting into that not secret society, but elite society full of interesting people and interesting things, mysterious things that go on around that group. Okay. My next favorite books of 2018 are actually two books. It's a complete series, or a duology, and it's actually a manga series, and that is Orange Volume 1 and Volume 2. I've talked about this endlessly on my channel, but it's a very cute, romantic manga series about a girl who gets a letter from herself 10 years into the future with detailed instructions on the things that she needs to do in order to prevent the death of one of her best friends. This was super enjoyable and I whizzed through it, even though there's a lot of volumes in each one of these, and I would definitely recommend them, especially if you're new to manga or you want to get into reading more manga. I think this is a great place to start. Then a contemporary book, and I think this might be the only YA contemporary book in this pile, surprisingly, since it's one of my favorite genres. But anywho, this is This Song Will Save Your Life by Layla Sales. I was very surprised to love this as much as I did, but well, I guess it's not that surprising since it is about music. I was working on my own novel with music as a main theme, and I just wanted to read something around that theme just to get inspiration, you know, but I didn't think I would love it as much as I did. So this is about a girl who discovers her love of music and her love of DJing at an underground secret kind of dance club. It was a lot of fun, but also it touched on quite some serious topics as well, so it was a good mix of a lot of different things. And yeah, obviously I would highly recommend any of the books that I'm going to talk about today since they were my favorite. Next is something that might not be for everyone, but to me it's the best writing related book I read this year, and that is The Anatomy of Story, 22 Steps to Becoming a Master Storyteller by John Truby. So I've talked about this book in my best writing books video, but this is definitely the best one I read this year, and I would highly recommend it to anyone who is a writer or to anyone who is interested in the topic. But obviously it's a very specific topic and it only really is relevant for writers or aspiring writers. But I wanted to mention it nonetheless because it is very good. Next is a book I read towards the end of the year. I don't remember exactly when, possibly November or something. That is A Natural History of Dragon, a memoir by Lady Trent by Marie Brennan. And this is, as the title suggests, it's a memoir written by the character Lady Trent, who is really fascinated by natural history and more specifically about dragons. So in this world, dragons are a thing and she's very fascinated by them, and she lives in this type of Victorian society where women are discouraged from pursuing scientific research and things like that, but she doesn't let that stop her, and she goes on an expedition to learn more about dragons. And yeah, this is the first book in a long series. I think there's at least 5 books in it. So I'm very excited to continue on, because this was very good, and Lady Trent is a fantastic character. Next we have And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. So this is my first Agatha Christie book I've ever read, and as you know, I loved it, and I definitely want to read all of her books now. This genre is still new to me, so I'm continuously impressed by everything that I read in the thriller mystery genre. So maybe in time, as I read more and more, that'll die down, but definitely she is awesome at this. So this is about 10 people who go on this remote house on a remote island off the coast of England, and they start dying one by one every single day. And there's only those 10 people in the house, so they don't know what is going on. And yeah, that's basically the story as they try to find out what is happening and who is behind all of these mysterious murders. Definitely a page turner, and I read this really, really quickly, and I can't wait to read more from Agatha Christie this year. Next are the second and third book in a series. I read the first book, I think, in 2017, but I read these two in 2018, so yeah, I'll just talk about the second and third book in the Wayward Children series. So the second one is Down Among the Sticks and Bones, and then Beneath the Sugar Sky is the third one. I'm actually currently reading the fourth one, but I'm filming this in 2019, so that does not count. This is a fantasy novella series, so each of them is novella length, so it's around 200 pages. But they are so good, and you definitely don't feel that they're short by a novel standard. I guess obviously since they're novellas, you don't feel that. The first book is Every Heart a Doorway, and the whole series basically focuses on portal fantasies and the children who run into these portals to magical worlds and what happens to them while they're in those magical worlds, and also what happens to them when they inevitably somehow find their way back to the normal world and the consequences of that. Very good series. I'm almost finished with the fourth one, so I can definitely recommend the entire series that is out right now. Actually, the fourth one is supposed to come out this January. I have an advanced reader's copy of it, but I think there will be a fifth one, if I'm not mistaken, sometime late this year, so 2019 or early 2020, presumably. So next is a meaty, hefty, big fat fantasy book, the kind of stuff that I love in this world. This is Blood Song by Anthony Ryan. So actually, now that I think about it, this was one of the few, if not the only, sort of big, hefty fantasy book that I read in 2018, and I read a ton of stuff in 2018, like spanning all kinds of genres. But my favorite genre, which is fantasy, and specifically big fat fantasy books, actually I don't think I've read that many. But anyway, this was definitely a highlight, and this is now one of my favorite books of all time. I would highly recommend it to anyone who likes epic fantasy. If you like Game of Thrones specifically and Name of the Wind, you will love this. I don't want to get into it too much in this video, but I will link the video where I talk about it in more depth down in the description, and I will also link all of my sort of wrap-ups, recent reads videos that includes obviously all of these books in them if you want a bit more detail into either of them. But this is very good, so yeah, I don't know what to say. I will continue on for sure, even though some people say that the continuation, so that it's a trilogy, so the second and third book are not quite as good. Nevertheless, I will definitely continue because I love the characters in this series. Next book is another big surprise for me. I didn't think I would love this as much as I did, and that is The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. This is a YA historical fiction, and that's all I really knew about it, but my god, this book was so much fun. This is the kind of adventure quest in a book that I love so much and that I'm trying to write myself, and it was fantastic. The humor, the characters, the adventures, and the setting, and the cities that they visit, and everything that happens in this is just awesome. If you're even remotely interested in this book, and if you're a bit on the fence whether you should or should not pick it up, then I definitely recommend you pick it up, because it was definitely a surprise for me, and it might be to you too. Next book is the only non-fiction, well, no, that's not true. It's the second non-fiction book on this list. The first one was non-fiction, but it was sort of a writing book, right? But this is the other non-fiction, and that is In Order to Live by Yeonmi Park. So this is Yeonmi's Park story about living in North Korea and subsequently escaping from North Korea. I devoured this book, but it was also incredibly tragic, and yet I loved reading every page of this. And I actually just read another book about North Korea that I like even more than this, and that I would recommend more than this. But that is coming up in my next recent reads, which should be up soon after this video. I'm not sure when, but soon. I'll talk about that one. But anyway, if you're interested in the topic of North Korea and what presumably goes on there, I think this one, I definitely recommend it. It's a really good read. However, the authenticity of what she says is sometimes questionable. I've read online that it's a bit questionable whether what she says is true, whether she actually lived through these things. But regardless of that, it's a really good read, and it's quite an eye-opener about what goes on in the weird place that we call North Korea, or not that we call, that is called North Korea. The People's Republic of Korea. Yeah, definitely recommend this. So this is Binti by Nnedi Okorafor, and this is a science fiction novella. It's a very short book. I think it's about 90, yeah, it's about 90 pages, so you could read this in literally half an hour. But it's the first in a trilogy. I'm pretty sure I have not read the continuation, but this was awesome. It's about a girl who's on a spaceship to a different planet where she plans on going to university. There's really not much to say about it because it is so short and I don't want to spoil it for you, but if you have a chance, I think you should pick this up. Next, I will quickly mention a few novella series or books that I read on Kindle, so I don't own physically. The other science fiction novella that I want to recommend is All Systems Red. I've also talked about this before. This is really, really funny about an android who is more human than the actual people around her think she is. Really funny. Highly recommend. And then the other series is Legion 1 and 2 by Brandon Sanderson. I love Brandon Sanderson, as you know, and I read everything he writes, but this particular series really surprised me because I didn't know what it really was about going in, and I was surprised and I love it. And I need to read the third one. Actually, the third installment in this novella series came out in 2018, but I haven't actually read it yet. So I definitely need to get onto that because it's great. And if you want an introduction to Brandon Sanderson that isn't high fantasy, if you're a bit unsure about that, then I would highly recommend this. This is more thriller, mystery, science fiction kind of story. And finally, the last book I want to talk about in this video is actually the last book I read in 2018. I think I finished it right around Christmas, so not quite at the end of 2018, but pretty much. And that is Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa. Now this is a book I received in the Unicorn Crate, which I have an unboxing for. I'll link it down below if you're interested what else was in that goodie box. But I was super excited about this because it's Japanese inspired fantasy, Japanese mythology inspired fantasy. And I had really high expectations for this, and yeah, I would say that they have been met. It made it onto my list of favorite books of 2018, and I love this. It was so much fun. I don't know how many of you watch anime or sort of Studio Ghibli types of movies, but this was like watching an anime or reading an anime, let's say. If you're familiar with series like Inuyasha or even Naruto, this feels like that. The mythology in this and all the sort of creatures and the characters and their abilities and everything about this was perfect. I do have some slight complaints about it, and I'll talk about those more in my next wrap-up. This will be in it. So if you want to hear more in-depth thoughts about this book, then wait for that video. But anyway, obviously it made it onto my favorites, and I would highly, highly recommend it if you're into this kind of Japanese themed fantasy. This is great, and it will be a series. I'm pretty sure it will be a trilogy. I'm highly anticipating the second book. Still, the first book in a series, so there's some expectation about it getting even better. But yeah, I think I ended 2018 on a very good note, so I'm very excited for all the books that I will read this year. And actually, I set my goal for 50 books this year, so a bit higher than I usually do. I usually set it for 40, and I really want to read more. I think I was a bit lazy in 2018 with reading. There were some periods where it took me way too long to read a book. So I've been trying to read a bit faster and a bit more this year, and also talk to you guys about all of the great and maybe not so great books that I read. So that was my favorite books of 2018. I will also possibly do a, not worst books, but a most disappointing books of 2018 video, I think. There was some expectations that might have been broken this year with some books, so I kind of want to talk about those as well, just because I think it might be interesting. But yeah, that was it for me today, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. As always, I will link all the books that I've talked about in this video down in the description if you're interested in looking up any of them. And I will see you soon with a new video. I might also change my uploading schedule a little bit, as in upload on a different day other than Monday. I'm still thinking about that, but if you see a video pop up on your subscription list and it's not a Monday from me, don't be surprised, because I might change it. I'm still thinking about it, but just so you know. Alright, thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you sometime. Maybe not next Monday, but sometime with a new video. See ya!